Are you able to see the screen now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so as in class 1 and 2, we discussed about like why communication is important, what is the process of communication. We talk about the feedback mechanism, some ethical considerations. Okay, I hope you people don't have any queries, and if you can have na, you can share on group also, and even you can message me personally. There is no issue. Okay, so today
Okay,
we'll be
ma'am.
talking about like what is the network which we use in communication. There are like few mechanisms or direction ways where by following which the communication can be done. So as you can see, I have taken from the notes only. So as you can see, it is known as a typology. Okay, which types we are using, which are the channels or directions or methods which we are using for communication. So, I will not go into much theory. I will just follow the pictures and that's it. Okay. And then I'll come to health education with my PPT. I hope it's like fine with both of you. So, first of all, let's talk about like types of communication. So, channels we have already discussed. It can be formal, it can be informal. Okay. I'll be talking about what is the like deep difference between both of them. Directions, like how the communication goes, it can be downward, upward, then horizontal and diagonal also. And methods can be this we have like covered: oral, written and gesture. So just try to like remember this particular table. Okay, it will be used everywhere wherever you want. Okay, so now straight come to yeah, I just want to highlight few things. Like whenever we talk about formal communication, it has a few advantages. Like first of all, so it is in a systematic manner, and because informal people don't use their opinions. Okay, these are basically orders or some strict informations which need to be passed from one department to another department. So these are systematic. Then these are authenticated because these are system based ideas, official ideas. These are not any person specific ideas or communication. Then these are expensive. Okay, because a lot of like channels are used, lot of like lot of you can say methods are used, like okay, like for example, if in a office setup we are using mail, so infrastructure is required, so these are expensive. Whereas if we talk about like informal, so in that people orally can communicate, so there is not much expenses involved. If we talk about like yeah, then one important is there is a justification for whatever, these 2 points can be covered: answerability for actions. Like if any communication is there is some base behind that. Okay, it's not like opinionated. Okay, and then control is there because in the office mechanism, the all the communications, they can be controlled, they can be monitored. When we talk about like what are the disadvantages, so mostly it is like as it is time consuming, because for example, if you want to reach to one person, okay, you have to follow certain channels. It's not like directly you can go and talk. It's not like that. So you have to follow a lot of communications, lot of methods, whether you are going to write a letter, you can write a mail, fax is there. Okay, so these certain methods can be used. It is all formal, so no human touch or personal touch, or it is not involved. Okay, yeah. And then sometimes what happen in official communications, sometimes the information is also distorted. Why? Because like for example, I sent a mail to like 3 4 people, and then again they are like transferring the same information to their juniors. So what happened, this what I wanted to convey might not be reflected to them. Okay, we have talked about receiver and sender. and sender communicator. So as there is no feedback mechanism, so you cannot ensure whether the information which was which the sender sent has been transmitted and adapted or understood by the receiver. Excuse me. Now, if we talk about informal communication, this is this is communication between individuals or groups. But these are not any official. These are their, they can discuss official as well as their personal talks can be done under this. Okay. Now, one of the very important thing is which we all know about is grapevine. As you all know, like grapevine, so everyone understands how grapes, they can grow anywhere in any direction. So informal communications which don't have a particular pathway or don't have a like systematic schedule pathway of transferring from one person to another, they are known as grapevine. Okay. Now, if we talk about types of grapevine, so as you can see from the picture below, just a second. Yeah, as you can see, let's like just come to the picture. First is single stranded. So it is a communication between one person to another, then third person. Okay, so it is like a single chain, as the name is specifying, single strand chain. A communicates B, B communicates with C. It's like that. When we come to gossip chain, so what happened in it? Uh, there is like no link between two people. Okay, they might not be even friends, but because it is gossip, it is totally based on people's personal interest, personal perspective. So it can go in any direction. It is just gossip. One person can talk to C also. One person can talk to many, and then again talk to many people. Probability chain. What happens in this? This has some probability. For example, it can be intra-department, interdepartmental, okay, or sometimes between a close group of people, friends. Then it is a probability. For example, 5 people are involved and they have a same supervisor. Okay, they have some issues with the supervisor. So probability is it will remain between them because they are going through the same situation. That's why. Then there is a cluster chain, which is very important because in this one, trust plays a very important role. So in this, what happened? One person only communicates to another person to whom he can trust. It is not, it is unlikely as happens in the chain, gossip chain, where anyone can just, share the information to anyone. So these are like 4 types of networks or grapevines in informal communication. Okay. Sometimes why grapevine is important, sometimes what happens in the offices, the management, they sometimes, what, they encourage grapevines because when they want to transfer one information to another, purposefully it is used in few of the organizations where they want. For example, people want to say ki, those who don't stick to the schedule, like time schedule, their salaries will be deducted. This information might be, transmitted to all employees through HR. But for example, if someone's, salary is deducted, then this thing they want to spread in the institution. So at those point of times, these grapevines, they are very, very important because as we all know, grapevines, they have a advantage over formal communication as they are very speedily, transferred from one person to another. So this is how sometimes strategically grapevine communications are, you can say, implanted. Okay. Okay, so now I'll straight come to the table. It will talk about formal versus informal communication. So whatever has been written upward now, this is the gist, and I found it very very good. So it clearly mention about the difference. So let's talk about them one by one. So first is what happens in formal communication. As we have discussed, these are official communications. These have a chains, these have a lines of communication. It can be from it can be from vertical communication can be there, or horizontal communication can be there. Whereas if we talk about informal communication, there is no authority. Grape any form of informal network, whether it can be uh, grapevine chain one or cluster one, any probability one, anyone can be following information communications. Okay. If we talk about formal ones, these are very slow, as lot of formal process is involved. For example, even if you are like writing a mail, so it consumes some time, then from one person to another it will be transferred. So it is a slow moving process because mostly it is written. Okay, it's not like oral, it's always like written. Whereas if we talk about like informal communications, these are fast in speed, as mostly these are oral. So people communicate with each other and it passes on at a very high speed. Now, if we talk about like responsibility, so you can easily, catch the person who initiated the communication in case of formal ones, because it is like written and there is a specific origin. Whereas if we talk about informal, so there is not a fix like there is no fix sender is there. Okay, so anyone can initiate, and then there is not any specific information is passed on from one person to another. So when the information starts from the sender and till it receives a receiver, and in this case there are multiple receiver, so the whole of the information is all distorted. Okay, if we talk about formal communication, these are task oriented. Okay, these are based on work to be done, as these are systematic. Whereas in informal, these are just people oriented. People have their perceptions, their attitudes, and they communicate informally. They just express their views. And then it's totally, it is not systematic at all. So how the receiver is taking that information, and again, there is no feedback mechanism. So how much he has retained in what, then he also has certain perception. So it is like only people oriented. Uh, Okay, so when formal communication, it is mostly work related, whereas the informal can be some social or personal information can be communicated in informal communication. Now, the formal communication is, as I told you, orderly and systematic. But if we talk about informal, it is all unsystematic. Whosoever wants to express their views to whosoever they want, it can happen. So now about the needs. So formal communication, it serves the organization needs. Okay, it is about like it adheres with the objectives and schedules and functioning of organization. Whereas if we want to talk about informal, it is about, as it is about people needs or social needs. Okay, so it is not, it never like reflects any organizational need. Now, if we talk about flow, so as it is systematic, so it can be from supervisor to the frontline, or from frontline to, top bottom approach is followed, or sometimes as interdepartmental communication is required, so it is diagonal. Okay, these are the following paths which are followed in formal communication, whereas if we want to talk about like informal, it can flow in any like possible directions. As we have like just talked about in grapevine, they can grow in any direction. There is no specific. Um, Formal are mostly written and sometimes oral also, but informal are only oral. There is no written or written communication. If we talk about formal, the information is accurate and authenticated because it is systematic. It origins anyone can find. It is mostly adheres with the like organization's rules. Whereas the messages in some grapevine, you cannot trust them as they are some person's, perception based. Okay. Now we'll talk about communication strands. So when we talk about like communication networks, so we have 5 type of networks. Okay, single strand, as the pictures depicts it very well. First one you can see, it is a single strand where one person communicate to other person only. Hmm? It never communicates with another. There is a two-way communication, as you can see from the diagram, A diagram, single strand. A and B are talking to each other. Okay. But and even it is a two-way. So A is communicating to B, and then he is getting a feedback also. There is a proper communication process between two people. This is a complete communication. Now what happens next? B is again communicating to C, and that is also two-way communication. That is also a closing loop between communication process. Loop is closing. Even B is getting a feedback. Okay, because it is also two-way. But if we talk about like A and C, they don't have any kind of communication between them. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of this system? Advantages are accurate information is passed on between two people. But later on, whether it is like in chain mechanism, what A communicated and what E received, there is a huge distress in that. Okay, but we can ensure like whatever communication is transferred between A and B, that is like, because there is a feedback mechanism that we can ensure. Now, if you talk about wheel network, in this what happened? A single person talks to multiple receivers. Okay, he is the whole sole in charge of the information which is passing on. So as you can see in the diagram, A is talking to B, C, D, and E. Hmm? And he has a two-way, like this has advantages and disadvantages. Advantages is like the same information is passed on to multiple receivers, and the sender is getting their feedback also. He is ensuring that like whatever information he is passing is reaching to all the receivers. But the drawback is like all the multiple receivers, they don't talk among themselves. Okay, so because of that, what is happening? You cannot ensure like all the receivers are not on same page. It is totally based on the perception of the sender, whether the information he has communicated been reached to all the receivers or not. Now next is circular network. What happens in this? How it is a kind of single strand, but it is not two-way. So one person is transferring the information to another, and then he is transferring that information to again another person. But there is no feedback mechanism. There is no insurity. So this is not very encouraged kind of communication. Now one more is wheel, or one more is free flow network. Here anyone can talk to anyone. There is no like schedule, there is no control over the communication. As you can see, one person can talk to multiple, and those multiple, anybody is talking to anyone. So this type of free flow network has advantages, because one information is transferred to multiple senders. But then again, there is a question of accuracy. Okay, and then this is kind of a gossip kind of thing. Okay, people, the information which is passed on becomes diluted. Now most you can say most adaptable in institution settings is Y network. What happens here? Here it is a controlled chain of network where two or three people are talking, and then as you can say the why there are two senders or receivers. They basically control the information. This is basically used in, for example, two departments are talking. If we see, like for example, a HR department or a finance department, they are talking. So there you can see the department heads can communicate something to the this other department head. Okay, for example, now here let's take, so the 2 points on the above side are two departments, HR department, and you can say the other one is the finance department. Whereas where the information is joining, this person is the head of department of a program. So he gets information from two departments, interdepartment. And then finally what happens? He grab the information and then he pass on to his juniors. So this is the most adaptable network which is followed in institutions when they are working in a formal network. Okay, now we will talk about like what are the flow or directions of communication. As you can see, downward, upward, horizontal, diagonal. I hope you all understand these four terms. So first, let's talk about diagonal. As you can see, what is happening? People are talking among themselves, but diagonally also they are talking. As you can see in upward, what happened? Information from bottom reaches to upward. So in this, there is a advantage where juniors, they can reach to, you can say it like a bottom to top approach, simply in simple terms. Whereas downward is top to bottom approach. Diagonally, many departments they communicate to each other. That is diagonal. Yeah. So let's take this example. Where is downward and upward, you can see. So at the top, we have a management. Then we have divisional managers, then departmental heads are there. The middle management is there, lower executives are there. And then there are some operative employees are there. So in top to bottom approach, what is happening? Any information from operative employees, it can reach to MD, but there are many levels in that. Similarly, when information from top to bottom comes, it follows the same path. So there is a systematic same path of passing on information from any approach, any direction. When we talk about downward communication, what mostly are circulated are handbooks or rule books, pamphlets, posters, bulletin, basically, or house journal, basically, and any information which management wants to pass on, any circulars, orders. These are part of downward communication, and basically these are orders. Okay, these are not some communications, because these are orders because which the top management wants to convey to the lower staff. Okay, annual reports, you can say some, as I said, some orders, circulars, they are part of this. What are like merits? Basically, all the employees, they are well versed with few of the things, like what are the mission and vision of the organization, what are plans, policy, okay, what are any rule books. They are they are used in a downward communication to be communicated to the employees. It also has certain limitations, which are, first of all, any formal, like we have discussed, in any formal communication, one important drawback is time consuming. Okay, it is very time consuming. A lot of time is consumed because it is written, it has to be designed, it has to be developed, and then it is passed on. But then sometimes it has a incomplete information also, because what management wants to pass on to the employees, but it goes through various levels. So every level has their understanding. So if a management sends it to management, of course, send it to middle management. But how middle management perceives it and then again pass into next ladder, it is quite questionable. And then how the people who are who are at the lower level of the ladder or hierarchy, how they perceive it, or how much they understand it, it's a big question. So this information is quite distorted. When it, I mean, whatever started from the top and whenever it reaches to the bottom, there is a lot of difference between what information was communicated. Okay, so as you can see from the downward and upward communication, there are few differences between. So as you can see, flow, we know, like it is top bottom and bottom to top, same. Purpose, purpose is when it is downward, so as we have discussed, it is mostly policy, schedule, mission, vision, instructions. Basically these are ordered. Whenever it is downward, it is about orders. Whereas when we talk about upward communication, what happens in that, it is about the progress or challenges which lower management or operational workers are feeling. So they basically want to communicate their limitations, their challenges, or in fact, progress. If it is in a positive way, they want to convey this to their superiors. At that time, they use upward communication. How it is used? So downward, it is performance specific. When the management wants to get things done through subordinate, in that case downward communication is used. Whereas in upward, mostly it is the lower staff, they share their progress. Forms of messages. So in downward, it is mostly orders, letters, memos, or company publications, like we have just discussed, reports, schedules, okay, action plans. These are the things which are communicated in downward communication. Whereas when we talk about upward, so what lower management can share with their top management, these are their challenges, limitations, if they are finding any difficulties. And sometimes it can be certain grievances which they have, or some suggestions if they have in their mind. So these are a few of the things which are, and which are major differences between downward and upward communication. Okay, now one more type of communication network is lateral or horizontal. In this, you can see, so there are multiple departments in an organization or in a hospital. Okay, so you can see like vertical or downward they talk, but sometimes there is like horizontal or lateral communication is also very, very important, because they can work together and they all are on same page, because the ultimate goal of all department is to follow the mission and vision, or you can say the action plan of the organization. So as you can see, there is an example given here. There is some managing director, and then there are two divisional managers. One is from steel and one is from cement, and under them you can see there are various other department heads from production, finance, and marketing. So in a way you can see, like if left side you see, we can take an example of downward from MD to okay. Yeah. So whereas as you can see in the right side, what is happening, you can take example of upward, top to bottom to top approach. But the two departments, like one of the cement department and the steel department, they also need to join hands in hands. Okay. So when these two departments, interdepartmental communication is there to reach the goals of organization or to follow the action plan, it is known as the horizontal or lateral communication. So there are certain merits and certain demerits of horizontal communication. First of all, though, when two departments, they join hands, they work together. So there is a speed up in flow of organization, as they have a better understanding. They have, when they, for example, two department heads, they understand the action plan. They somehow, circulate the information to their juniors. So there is a problem solving attitude amongst the team member. And it also helps in reviewing. Like for example, there is a budget department and there is a program department, finance department and a program department. When they communicate together, so they can understand, like we all know it's March is coming, so we all know like what is this unspent or where it can be spent. They can strategize the budgeting. So somehow this is very helpful. Then what happens in lateral communications or horizontal communication, one of the merit is how the top managers, they are somehow relieved. Burden, I mean, they are not overburdened, as the responsibility also is taken up by the divisional managers. Now, what are the limitations? One of the most important factor which practically happens is, in today's world, everyone is specialized in their own field. So when two departments come together, it is not a easy, it is not an easy thing to discuss and resolve the issues, because they lack the technical knowledge from the other department. So sometimes in the horizontal communication, as the top management also leaves the decisions to them, so they are not comfortably resolved among two departments. That is a very important point to be noted here. Okay, then the functional heads, they always have their own perceptions and attitude, difference in attitude. So this also leads to it can affect the productivity and resolving the issues, or basically the communication which was transferred from the top management. The divisional heads or zonal heads, they don't adapt themselves to that. So the information is diluted, and ultimately what happens, there are some interdepartmental conflicts. Okay. Okay, so this is a very basic difference between oral and written communication. Oral, we all know, we speak, and written, it is expressed in writing. Oral is speedy, whereas in written, it takes more time. Oral is, it's not precise, it's not accurate, and any information can be like sent, people can talk for like hours, and it is totally their own views. Whereas in written communication, it is very precise. People write and in definite words, and definite information is passed on from one place to another. As oral communication are sometimes not closed loop, whereas and one information can be passed on to another person. There are chances of distortion in oral, whereas if we talk about written, there are less chances of distortion of information from one person to another. Oral is mostly informal. When we talk about formal, then written informations are passed on. Oral messages are generally taken casually because they are, as we discussed, they are not organization specific, they are person specific. So they are usually casual, whereas whenever written communication, as mostly they are formal, they are taken seriously by the receivers. Oral messages, you cannot verify what is the origin, whereas in case of written messages, of course, there are emails, there are facts, there are orders. So these can be verified. Okay. So this was like what this we just discussed about various various type of communication networks, and this completes your communication concepts, process. Okay. And ओके अभिषेक देख पा रहे हैं क्या आप?
यस मैम।
नहीं, पीपीटी देख पा रहे हैं क्या?
हाँ जी मैम, देख पा रहा हूँ। हेल्थ एजुकेशन
अच्छा, ठीक ठीक है,
मॉड्यूल 103।
हाँ जी हाँ जी। ओके, तो ओके, अब इसी में ना हमने क्या किया है, जो आपका 103 वाला चैप्टर है ना, इसमें आपका जो पेपर है मोस्टली हमारा जो कम्युनिकेशन का कॉन्सेप्ट, प्रोसेस, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, पर्पस, रोल ऑफ मैनेजमेंट, फीड एंड एथिक्स, दिस वी हैव क्लियर नाउ। ठीक है, लास्ट टाइम आई टुक योर हेल्थ प्रमोशन, दैट वाज कंप्लीटेड। ठीक है, उसमें कुछ टर्मिनोलॉजीज भी हमने कवर कर लिए थे, एंड दिस टाइम वी कवर्ड द नेटवर्क्स। ओके, now I will be talking about health promotion, health education. ठीक है, एक ना आपका जब ये चैप्टर हो जाएगा, तो if you people are interested, I'll share various health strategies, health program strategies. If you people are interested, we can take it at last, but abhi nahi.
Yes ma'am.
So
yes,
yeah, matlab just if you have some interest, because I develop a lot of communication strategies. Okay, so recently I developed on mental health program, and also on monkeypox का outbreak हुआ था तब।
Okay.
तो अगर दिखा, because I work with ministry ना।
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
okay ma'am.
I work with ministry and in communication department. So वो बाद में अगर उतना इंटरेस्ट होगा तो करेंगे, अभी तो बेसिक कर रहे हैं। तो आज हम बात करेंगे सिर्फ हेल्थ एजुकेशन।
Okay ma'am.
या सो हेल्थ की एजुकेशन, अगर हम डेफिनेशन की बात करें ना, तो बेसिकली व्हाट इट इज encouraging people to want to be healthy, because we are talking about health, to know how to stay healthy, so that we can convey them what is the definition of health. जैसे पहले था कि बस आपका फिजिकल स्वास्थ्य है, उसकी बात तो हम नहीं करते, अब तो हम बहुत सारे एस्पेक्ट्स लेते हैं, फिजिकली, मेंटली, सोशली, स्पिरिचुअली, if you are healthy. So this need to be conveyed to the people, and the definition which was based on ALMA at a declaration. Health education and behavior. Why basically we do health education? To change their behaviors. So the behavior of people, like individual or groups, they need to be adopted or modified. Okay, so that they can adapt themselves. Why? So that the behavior of people or group can be changed for some particular health problems. Earlier it was only communicable diseases, but now though it is communicable and non-communicable. There is a change in concepts, we all know. So if we talk about like before independence, it was mostly communicable diseases, but after that it was non-communicable diseases, and now we just talk about primordial and primary prevention. Now the total strategy has been changed. If we talk about till 80s or 90s, it was treatment. 80s till 80s, I mean, till 90s, it was mostly treatment about various diseases. But now the shift has changed from like shift has changed from shift was changed from treatment to prevention, and now it is about promotion of healthy lifestyle. It is not even prevention. Now it is primordial. You understand the differences now, Abhishek?
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ, प्राइमोडियल और प्राइमरी में डिफरेंस पता है ना?
जी 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 जी.
हाँ, ठीक है. तो अभी तो क्या है, अभी तो हम देखा जाए तो प्राइमोडियल प्रिवेंशन या उसको हम हेल्थ प्रमोशन भी कहते हैं एक तरीके से. तो रिस्क फैक्टर्स की वी टॉक अबाउट रिस्क फैक्टर्स. अभी हम ये चाहते ही नहीं कि प्रिवेंशन पे भी आओ, तुम्हें रिस्क फैक्टर भी डेवलप नहीं होना चाहिए, पहले से ही काम करना है तुमको. तो द शिफ्ट हैज चेंज, एंड दैट इज व्हाई how it can be achieved, of course, through health education. There is no other way about that. Like we have seen in case of COVID epidemic. So only there was so much of awareness generation, health education was there against promotion of risk factors, कि कैसे risk factors से अपने आप को बचाना है. बीमारी होगी तब तो दूसरी ही बात है, लेकिन अभी we all talk about them. इसके भी हमारे क्या है, कुछ aspects है. Individual level पे भी you need to do something, but as people they
COVID
can.
is the, ma'am, COVID is the primordial, this one, right?
Yes. हाँ, मतलब we were talking about primordial.
Yes, yes, yes.
We were talking about primordial. You can say primordial, although when we talk about primordial ना, we talk about NCDs.
Okay.
है ना?
Non-communicable
क्योंकि
disease.
हाँ, प्राइमोडियल कैसे होता है, अगर जैसे प्राइमोडियल नहीं, प्रिवेंशन या हेल्दी बिहेवियर की बात कर सकते हैं हम. प्राइमोडियल
Like development of the to stop the development of the risk factor, like basically like prevent the development of the risk factors also, na? Like
प्राइमोडियल इज व्हेन यू आर एक्सपोज टू रिस्क फैक्टर्स.
yeah.
तो नहीं, कोविड का हम प्राइमोडियल नहीं कह सकते क्योंकि इट वाज कम्युनिकेबल, है ना?
But
ये है कि
Doctor,
रिस्क फैक्टर्स तो थे ही बहुत लोगों में.
हाँ risk factors थे.
रिस्क फैक्टर तो थे ही ना. जैसे अगर किसी का लो इम्यूनिटी था, प्रेग्नेंट लेडीज थी,
हाँ.
एल्डरली पॉपुलेशन थी, तो उनको तो हम ऑलरेडी बोल ही रहे थे ना कि प्रिवेंशन करनी है.
हाँ, those who people are vulnerable to
Vulnerable, yes,
the
vulnerable
vulnerable.
population को तो already we were targeting them.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so
yes.
now in health education we only talk about like this prevention strategy. उसमें भी है
Okay.
कि identify the risk factors. If you have risk factors, even if you don't have risk factors, but in genes you can see, or your environmental or social factors are there, then be vigilant about them, and then start.
Now the recent which one has come, that influenza virus, which is H3N2, which is giving a persistent cough, fever, shortness of breath, SOBs and all everything, which is somewhat a sort of something I can feel it like it's coming, like it's a calmness before the storm. Like even in that what is that called, before COVID, like how we during the before the pandemic there was a Middle East, what was that, I forgot that exactly, where in Middle East also so many people were affected with this particular virus, where people had these challenges of with the same milder symptoms. And right now again there's one more, the H3N2, which has come down. Like there's so many in Delhi NCR, even this one in Bengal, and so many states and all everything. We are facing these challenges, like multiple people falling sick, getting high spike of fevers and all the spike pattern fevers and cough, cold and all. So this one we can say, like, to prevent this one, what it should be. Is it tertiary or it is primary or primordial?
It is primary. It is primary.
It is primary. Okay.
Yes, it is primary. It is primary. Tertiary is when you already have treatment. Matlab you are in treatment.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we have this treatment now, because these are simple virus right now, like the simple influenza virus. Like
No. So it is about your attitude, na. At these, basically prevention is what? These are interventions.
Okay.
You have a treatment, that's a different thing.
Okay.
Prevention is individual based. Okay. When we talk about prevention, it is person specific.
Okay.
Just remember thinking. Okay. So for example, there is a person who is 30 years old. Okay. and he has like hypertension in family. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
if we like flag off, okay, bhai, you have like diabetes or hypertension in family, so
Mm-hmm.
like adopt a healthy lifestyle, go for physical activities and diet. This is
Mm-hmm.
primordial.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah. And for example, now he has a variable he starts having hypertension, then it is
Mm-hmm.
primary. If like somehow he feels, okay, I mean
Mm-hmm.
initial symptoms are there, then it is primary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's not like fully like into the disease, it is
Into that
primary.
disease.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then secondary is he has like
He has got the symptoms.
he is exposed, and now it is confirmed the disease has properly like taken, cover on him, then it is tertiary. And then
Okay.
comes the this thing, your treatment, and then comes the
Mm-hmm.
rehabilitation.
Rehabilitation. Okay.
Okay, so nowadays what is happening, primordial is, for example, when you have kids in school
Mm-hmm.
and you tell them to take care of their health and adopt a healthy lifestyle, that is primordial.
Primordial, yes.
That is
Like
primordial.
health awareness, basically.
हाँ,
You
मतलब
can.
primordial because as we know, like parents को तो आजकल families में तो it is happening ना. Any
Yeah, yeah.
family they have certain these risk factors तो are everywhere. So when
Yes,
you know
yes,
कि you want the like risk factors, the disease is not inevitable, not like appearance of symptoms is not there, but before that, if
yes.
you are taking any prevention, that is primordial.
ठीक है,
Okay,
ठीक है,
yeah.
ठीक है.
So yes, so when we talk about health education, it is on two levels, individual also and group also. Why group? Because people tends to get influence when any strategies is implemented in groups. Okay, we'll talk
Mm-hmm.
about it. Yeah. Okay, and so now what are the aims and objective of health education? First and foremost is so that they can adopt and sustain a healthy lifestyle and practices. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
next is proper use of health services available, because it's not that we are only passing on the information that okay prevention करो नहीं. प्रिवेंशन में भी बहुत सारी हमारी सरकार की नीतियां हैं जो यूज करनी चाहिए. फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू टॉक अबाउट इम्यूनाइजेशन, दैट इज आल्सो अ टाइप ऑफ प्रिवेंशन ना, है ना, बच्चों में जो टीकाकरण का प्रोग्राम हम चलाते हैं. सो
हाँ जी, हाँ जी, हाँ जी.
हाँ, health education is telling them about diseases, their risk factors,
हम्म,
about a healthy lifestyle, plus which
हम्म,
are available healthy services. Okay, for
हम्म,
example, अगर आप institutional delivery भी करवा रहे हो, that is also a prevention method. How?
हम्म.
Normal delivery का मतलब तो यही है ना, normal delivery
नॉर्मल,
is a
हाँ हाँ.
natural process. But for
यस.
example, if you go in a institutional delivery, so you can
हम्म,
take care of the mortality and morbidity of neonatal deaths, or
हम्म,
postpartum issues can be tackled down. So that is
हम्म,
also health education. Okay,
हम्म, हम्म, हम्म,
then certain times what happened, there are CAP studies, knowledge, attitude and practices,
हम्म,
research studies are done to understand what are perspective of people, what are their behavior. Based on that, how the government or various stakeholders they can take initiatives, and how they can improve the ways to impart health knowledge to people. Okay, then last is to stimulate individuals. Basically it is the action by the individual or the community. Okay, how they can take part into health education and how they can adapt to these
श्योर,
lifestyles.
श्योर मैम.
Now if you talk about, yeah, you want to ask something?
नो 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 नो, दिस
So
करिए.
now if you talk about like what are the roles of as a healthcare provider, what are your roles? So basically it is area specific, it is target population specific. You as a health professional, we also have opportunity to understand the need based. Okay, like
यस.
health education needs to be need based, it is not imposters type of thing.
ओके.
Then of course, yeah, it's not that. Health education, you always remember, it is target based, or
टारगेट.
target based plus need based,
नीड बेस्ड.
felt need based.
ओके.
Okay, it's not that ki you go to a area and you talk about because you are working in water sanitation, you go and you talk about water sanitation. The target population might be having certain other issues. So you need to identify what actually their problems are, and then the health education needs to be decide as per that only. Then people, they need to why we talk about like participation or community, because ultimately it is a two-way communication and it is a two-way effort. Okay. And then the last point is very important, like people must access the proven preventive measures. It's not that you have certain solution, they might be suitable to you, but it has to be taken care how the target population is perceiving it, or whether it is practically possible for them or not. Then there are 4 approaches which we use in health education: regulatory, service, health education and primary health care approach. अगले क्लास में करें क्या ये?
जी मैम, बिल्कुल।
या अभी कर लें क्या? चलो अगली क्लास में करते हैं. इन नेक्स्ट क्लास ना आई विल फिनिश दिस.
श्योर
ठीक है?
मैम, श्योर।